which you can do is like event context.getMessage.getPayload, and you can just return that from your Java class to your Mule flow. So now you know all this structure of Mule 3 Java class. Let's come back to the approach which we should look into while migrating this Mule 3 Java code to Mule 4. So this is based on my experience, of course. Most people have their own experience, but these are the things I was facing in my project as well while migrating. It was a Mule 3.6, even very old one, which have data mapper, not even data weave. So this is where I think we should, before migrating, we just have a different way of thinking how we should do it. So combined approach, what does it mean? Like, you use Mule migration assistant, MMA, as well as your manual efforts. Okay, so if you have a code which is in Mule 3 and it have HTTP and all those sort of database, all the sort of connectors, so what you can do, you use your MMA to run the script and create those connector configuration. Keep it aside. Okay, you just keep that code somewhere and just you can just put it like transform or migrate it with MMA like this. You can rename that project. And in okay, so after that, so this is the combined approach. So just keep that code as, and also if you see in the first slide, like the Java classes, so it really requires manual effort. So that's why okay, I'll tell you how the manual efforts when you want to change the class later, but just keep this in mind, like you have to use soothing MMA and yeah, some manual effort in changing the Java class. The second option is identify and address. So when you are migrating, you have opportunity to rewrite your code or improve your code. So what you can do, you just identify those classes which really need not to be migrated. Like earlier, we do not have these strong data view. Like you see today, you can really do so most of the things with data view. But earlier, there was not much of the I can say freedom to the developers. Also, sometimes it depends on the person who develops. Like if he comes from Java background, for simple things he can use Java because it's easier for them to use it. So just identify those, what are those Java classes, and skip them and try to just understand what kind of input it is taking and what kind of output it is giving, and just write a data view transformation for that. So that way you can save your time in migrating that one, and also improve the readability and the performance utilizing data view 2.0. So yeah, like I mentioned, I like in the slide also, like utilizing data view 2.0 at most of the places, and scrap the old use Java class for data transformation for performance and readability, and list down all the Java classes which really have to be migrated. So some Java classes, they can be used for like custom, like there can be scenario, you are just running just hitting a service which is on-prem and that is dedicated to that only. So they have used some custom logic and Java class for that. So you have to migrate that eventually to work it as it is. So those classes, you just list them down. What are those classes, and then start the migration for those. So combined approach and identify and address. These two you have to just keep in mind while you start your migration. That's the strategy you have to look into. So now, once identifying those Java classes, we have to work with the classes now. So once the class is finalized, we start importing them, and some of the issues you can find. Like in one class, there you can be importing another class as well, method of other class. So watch out for those. You can start with the simpler one, which doesn't calling other class, or then and gradually move towards like individual class, and gradually move to the inherited class, which is calling other classes. So you have to import those as well. Once you import that, you will see lots of errors. So just don't get scared of those. Just start fixing one by one. Most of the with the experience I found, most of them are the dependencies. There might be cases like the Java code have been written long back, so they are be using some dependencies. So you have to find in the, you just Google it, what's the name of that the package, what's the dependency for that, and include it in your form, because in Mule for it's all navanized. So you just start adding those. You just list them out and start adding, and one by one, these dependency issues will be gone. Sometimes certain packages get restricted in your studio, so it will give you an option, allow these dependencies, some certain packages or dependencies which are open, so that may not that get restricted, so you can allow them in your studio. If you click on that, then that will take you to the place where you can just write down the name of that module. I'll show you where you can do that. After that, importing the class, there will be an error in the class as well. So once you fix all those dependency, restriction, and other kind of project structure errors, there will be errors inside your class, of course, because as I said, Mule 3 is totally different from Mule 4. So that's where your manual efforts comes into the picture. So MMA, fine, we just migrated some of the connector and configuration, but now the manual efforts, like you have to get into the classes. So and you have to watch out for those packages which I showed, um, the the variables which it was the code was reading, and the methods. So once you do once you get familiarized with those, then you start your manual efforts in that. So so what, when it's coming to manual efforts, like changing the Java classes, so what you do, you just remove whatever the imports we have seen. We have seen like there was different imports we were using, o.mule.api.transport, mule event content. They cannot be supported in Mule 4. You cannot extend these because of the class loading isolation. Like it should be in different, like it should be different. I would say like you just call the method and do the functionality, but you cannot really change your payload. It's immutable now. Your Mule event will be separate, your connectors will be separate. So this is what a class isolation do. So you cannot now call these APIs which really change your variables or payload. So remove all of them. Remove callable interface notation from class declaration. You see, right? Public class add to number implements callable. So this will now change to public class add to number. So this callable annotation will be gone from there. Modify on-call method, rename it and make it static. So if you see any methods, on-call method like you see there, just rename that method. You can use the name of your choice or the thing, the function it does, and make it static, because in Mule 4 it's all static. You can call the method which are static. Check for flow variables or properties which code reads. So we saw, right, how we can read the variables, how we can read properties also we can read in Mule 3, and how we can read the payload. So now you need to pass them in parameters. You cannot really directly access them through the classes. You have to pass it in the parameters in those functions. Check for the return type of the method. If it does not, if it doesn't return anything, it will be void. Otherwise, based on the return data type, you just put, if it's returning a string value, then string. Otherwise, object, it can be any data type which it's written. Nothing, then it's void. Okay, so I'll just...
Piyush, before going to them, there is one question. Ajay, what are the main prerequisites of migrating Java 3.4 to 4? I think we have discussed that in the initial slides, but basic Java knowledge is always better as a prerequisite. Okay. And what is meant by MMA tool? MMA tool is Mule Migration Assistance, which will convert a basic whatever can be converted by MuleSoft tool. It will be converted, but it doesn't convert to 100%. It might be 20%, 30%, based upon the connectors you are using in Mule 3 and based upon the data view functions or syntaxes that are different from Mule 4. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
You can go ahead.
Yeah, and also just to add up, you really need not to know how the whole logic of the classes. If you just the syntax, the imports which I was talking about, and the function, the callable interface, how it is taking the parameters, that help. In rare cases like very complex or big classes, you might need help, but most of the classes that can be easily migrated if you know how it was done in Mule 3 and how we can do it in Mule 4. So so I just have the same example, the class which I have. So coming to the demo, I'll just stop it now. Yeah. So here, what does it do? It's just a package declaration, and it's a Mule 3 code. Okay, if you see, it's a Mule 6 version. Again, you need two studio, one to run Mule 6 and one to run one to run your Mule 3, and Studio 6 version. You can download it from the Studio, the MuleSoft site, the previous version, and another one is Mule Studio 7.9. The latest one you can just download for Mule 4. So once you have once you saw any code, which let's say that this Java example, this needs to be migrated in Mule 4. You open it in your Studio 6.x version, and then you see here the import statements. We have org.mule, default Mule event, Mule message. All these are here. Okay, and then we have this public class adding names. So this is the class name, and then which implements a callable interface. And then we created a string builder object that will help in changing our payload. And then if you see override in annotation here, and on-call method, this is how we do in Mule 3. You will see it in your code as well when you start migrating. And what does it do? It accepting one parameter, like that is Mule event context. You created a object, and event to context is nothing but the Mule event. Mule 3 event in this case, which have these payload and inbound output properties. So it throws exception down, our Java class is started, and then we have in this variable Mule message we created, we get the Mule Mule message here, we save it, and then I'm having these flow variables here. Okay, just a second. I just created two variables. First name, what is which have query params, which store the query param first name, and the last name, which have again the query parameter last name. So these two variables, first name and last name, how they get read here, it's possible with the help of property scope.invocation. So property scope.invocation, that's the scope. Actually, there can be session, like I was telling you, and that these all comes from where? It comes from this one, Mule org.mule.api.transport. So this package or this API, MuleSoft 3 API, helps us or helps our code, Java code, to read the flow variable from your flow into your Java class. And then we are appending first name and last name, and then we are saving it in name, and then yeah, and then okay, this is the another functionality I wanted to show you in Mule 3, which was possible in Mule 3 Java, but not certainly in Mule 4. So if you see here, Mule, one second. Yeah, this Mule event invoke Mule flow. So what does it do? It with the Mule 3, you have freedom of calling flow directly to directly through your Java class. So what the same thing it does, it's taking Mule message, Mule event context, and flow. These three, all these documentation you will find, and that's actually helps you when you start searching, what Invoke, Mule flow, or where anything you search, whatever you see, you don't know, like Mule event contest, what does it mean? Or Mule transport life cycle, callable, what does it need? So if you search this on Google, and you will see all the documentation for all these packages. What does it do? Like, if it will help in calling a flow from a Java class. So that's and this method Invoke Mule flow, what does it do? It accepts 3 parameter: Mule message, context, and flow name, and the flow which it calls. And then Mule context dot get registry dot lookup, it looks for that flow name and that we pass all this, and then it's send the message, what kind of exchange pattern, all these things you can see there. So nothing in the Mule for you have to anyhow remove it, because you cannot call a flow, and there's no need also, I would say, to call a flow in Mule in Java class, because you anyhow restructure your class in Mule 4. So all of these you have to remove. But if you wanted to know what it does do, what kind of logic it does, so you might have to look into these APIs, these methods, which Mule 3 APIs exposes. So this invoke Mule flow here, this calls this one here. So here we are sending Mule message, and then event context, and the name of the flow, second flow. So when we call the this class here, it will actually call this second flow from the Java class, and it's print the payload as well as the flow variable, which is called name. And this is the Mule 3. If you see here, it's a Spring object bin. We have singleton Spring bin object, right? So this is how you can call in Mule 3. Like in Mule, then you can just define your bean here, and like I have this adding two names bean. Inside adding two names bean, I have a class com.meetup.hyderabad.class name. So it will just start showing up in drop down. You can just let me show you. You can define Spring Bean annotation like this. Okay, Spring Beans bean ID, adding two names and name, and then class. Okay, so yeah, and inside that you just use the bean here directly just from the drop down from here. So this is how you just call a class which is here in Mule 4. So if I run it, let me clean it. So this is Mule 3, and I am just running it. Just check the port number here, 8081, and name. Okay. It's deployed. That's sent. So I sent first name Piyush and last name Sharma. So I sent them in. So let me tell you what happened, how I got this one. So first name, if you see query parameter Piyush, last name Sharma, and when I sent it, these variables start filled up. First name Piyush, and then last name Sharma, and then it called this Java class. Control goes here. After that, if you see here, it will read those first name and last name, and then it will add it. We added it here, append, and then Mule. 1 second. Yeah. And then here, if you see, we are returning the name. Also, we are returning, we are changing the payload using set payload. So this is the payload. So this is the payload, and this is your variable, which also have the name value. So Piyush Sharma. So why I use that one is because here, if you see, we are having payload output payload and flow variable name. And in Java classes, in Java class, we set that value, set property and set payload to name, which is nothing but Piyush Sharma, which we also got here. Okay, this we got here with the help of this, and this payload and property which we set is because we are using logger to print those. And if I show you payload output and where's here, it should be Piyush Sharma. So like payload output Piyush Sharma, variable Piyush Sharma, because why it is there, because we set this payload and variables here in the Java class with using dot set property.
Piyush, are you calling this flow from the Java class itself, the child flow?
Yes, I am calling it, let me show you here, invoke mule flow, which is nothing but this one. Here I'm passing the name of the flow, second flow. So this is Mule 3 now. Let's go in Mule 4. So let me create another. If I just show you this one, maybe. Let's say I'm importing this class here directly. I'm just copy pasting everything. So this is what we have to do, right? And remember, we start importing, and then we have some error here, and then we have to remove these error one by one. So first, all these will go import one because they are no longer supported, right? So all these will go. Now this public class, so this will also go. Okay, it's complaining because yeah, this one. Let's see if I can-
Class name you can change.
just rename it for now. Just okay. I think it's complaining because of package as well.
No, can you in sixth line?
Sorry.
Can you change it in sixth line, the name of the class directly?
Yeah. So, and we have this string builder thing. Now this will, okay, first we have to remove this one. So if you see here, if you see here over at the override public object on call, this will no longer be supported, right? So what we do, we have to make it static, public static. This on call also will go. We have to just, let's say, execute. We just name it. And of course, this will go mule event context. But before removing it, you have to know you need these two also, right, in your code. So, and these will be only sent via parameters. So you have it here, string first name, and then string last name, last name. And you can set if you need the payload as well, but you can do object payload. Okay, so it will accept these three one, and of course these will go because they are no longer supported. These you can put static methods or put them here. Okay, why it's complaining? Okay, sorry, this also should go. Yeah, so and all these again, you don't need it. Wherever you see mule event context message and all, these will also go, and invocation also go. You don't need to set payload, and let's remove this as well, invoke flow, because that's not longer possible. You just use flow ref lookup or anything from your data v. Yeah, so pretty much this one, let's say the play package doesn't as the okay.
Hyderabad.meetup, I guess. package.
Okay. So if you see, it looks cleaner. What we did, we remove all the import one. We just remove the callable thing. I use public class. We have this method public static object execute. We just name that. It should be static. Whatever the things we were earlier able to get in Mule 3, we now have it using the attributes. And again, yeah, so these all things, and then we are doing our logic, and then we are returning the the value which we have, the payload, return name Sapusha, like we will get that. So this is how we do. Okay, so I'll just remove this one and rename our class.
Piyush, I think the return statement should be string, isn't it? Not okay. Something.
Sorry, why?
Line number 10. It should be string, right? Or it's okay. You want to print whole object, right?
Yeah, actually, this is because I wanted to tell you about the payload also and the string combination of. Otherwise, we can use. I told you, right? We can, but it depends on the type of return. So now, if you see here in this one, that was the simple one, but I wanted to take this logic also, how we can actually do with the payload as well. So that's how when we add the payload with the first name and last name, it becomes an object. Okay. Fine. But why it's complaining now?
Just rename it.
Okay. So I was telling you, right? We can just call class using data view. So this is the import statement, Java exclamation mark, and then you just type, hey, the package name, and then like if you see here, match it, and then the class name, and then you have utilizing this class name, you have this method execute there. It accepts payload and then first name and last name. I just simply sent it. You can save it in variables as well, no issues. You can send those, and let's try to run it. So what does it do? It will come here and it will take this payload, first name, and I'm appending and the last name, and then return and then I have this payload, whatever I received, and then I am doing and again and the name. So I'm just playing around my data, nothing else. So here I set the payload like my new payload, that's a string thing. So yeah, let me see. Check the port as well. We got data, my new payload and Piyush Sharma. So my new payload was the payload which I have here. My new payload, I sent it in parameters. Okay, here payload in a static method. So here, so this payload I'm appending with and. Okay, let's see. And is here, and after that I have this flow variable thing. So Piyush and Sharma. So this will also get added up here, Piyush and Sharma. So this is how a simple class which you can migrate from Mule 3 to Mule 4. Just keep in mind, like all these packages, what you have to remove, the class callable you have to remove and make it static. Whatever the logic is here, you really need not to worry in most of the cases, and just change it and you will able to migrate that. Yeah, so that's complete the demo.
Guys, do you have any questions for Piyush? I think we are already, as I said, this is 1 hour meetup. If you have any questions, you can shoot out. Even Piyush, thank you so much, because He has another meeting as well. Can we use Java connector? Yes, you can use Java connector, Madhusudan. There is two options to call Java class using transfer message and Java connector. Any other question for a minute? Can we refer database connection in Java?
I didn't get this question. Database connection in Java, what do you mean?
Why
Invoke.
don't we use Invoke?
Invoke, we have this concept in Mule 3. We have this invoke connector. We invoke the class. The class, we want to execute it
Yeah.
instantly, we use invoke.
It's just a name, like invoke a Java class.
Yeah, yeah.
Can we DB connectivity using Java coding Mule?
Like I said, we have opportunity, right? We can just redesign it instead of calling through Java. Let's do it with the connector because we have a database connector. Sometimes you see files also getting written through Java. That also you should just check what are the third-party system you need to watch out for them and then redesign your flows.